It's the hour here in the Imus morning program. Well, we've been a big raging debate in the office here for a couple of days, or yesterday and this morning, about covering Arafat's funeral. And I said, you know, if MSNBC wants to cover it, they can cover it. I'm not covering it. I'm only going to cover it if they start tossing around like at a concert, you know.
A little body surfing deal.
Yeah.
Crowd surfing.
I mean, if they, where is he now? He's in a box, right?
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's en route from Cairo to the West Bank. Airborne, I bet.
Sort of amusing as a woman on the Daily Show observed last night that now that they're hoping for peace now that Yassir Arafat, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, is dead.
Wonderful observation.
I forgot I want to look.
Perfect.
It was on the Daily Show. That woman's name, Samantha B. or whatever her name is.
Perfect.
It was pretty funny. So, well, if y'all are watching MSNBC, you have teeming hordes of nitwits with flags just milling around. So, I don't know. Now, here's what's really annoying. I'm reading the idiotic New York Times this morning.
Yeah.
And the Washington Post, by the way, being about twice the paper. So I'm looking at the Business Day section, the C section, and there's a story here. CBS apologizes for Arafat report. Apparently what they did, this television program, CSI New York, they interrupted the last concluding 5 minutes of it with a special report on this rat's death. Well, as you can imagine, it just tore off everybody, you know.
Of course.
So now CBS has to apologize. So I was interested in reading the story, and they say it's on page A15. Well, of course, it's not.
Troubling.
Which, by the way, happens more often than not in the New York Times. That's how screwed up they are, you know. And make up the news, and then then you can't find it what page they put their made-up news on. Andrew Mitchell is in Ramallah. Wonder if that's what we're seeing on. Is that what we're seeing here?
That is. Yeah.
Anyway, she's the chief foreign affairs correspondent for NBC News. How'd she draw this juicy assignment? Let's find out. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Don, Charles, Bernie. This is quite an extraordinary scene. I just walked through the streets to get to this location from another place, and the streets are teeming with people, thousands and thousands of people. Let me show you what's going on behind me. I'm right in front of where in the last 24 hours they created this burial site, and now you've got thousands of people who have climbed across the rubble, broken through, and are now filling this area. I mean, the security guards who are on top of these various fences have been helping pull people up. So the olive drab security guys are part of the problem here, not part of the solution, if there is a problem. And what the crowds down below are shouting, they are the Al-Fatah youth, they are shouting that they are going to drink the blood of the man who poisoned Arafat. The view in the street is that he was poisoned. He went to Paris healthy, as you've been pointing out several mornings this week, and that he went into a severe decline in Paris, so therefore he must have been poisoned, and obviously they blame the Israelis. There are banners here from every part of the West Bank, Jenin, Nablus, and you've got a very emotional, angry crowd. So for all of the attempts of the Palestinian leadership to try to control this situation, we have the possibility within a half hour of 3 helicopters arriving, Cairo, Egyptian military helicopters from Cairo, and they're going to be depositing Arab leaders, dignitaries, foreign ministers, officials from all over the world, 40 leaders from various countries, and they're going to be arriving into the middle of this. Don?
Are you safe there?
Oh, yeah, I'm on a rooftop. I'm fine. But coming through the streets is another issue. People, I got to tell you, the Palestinian people have been enormously welcoming. And everyone we have dealt with here has been terrific. We were here yesterday, spent the night, again today. They want their story told. They feel that they have been ignored. Yassir Arafat has been under siege in Ramallah, and for nearly 3 years, they think that people have not been hearing how isolated they are here. Ramallah was the heart of the West Bank. There are foreign businessmen who came here. They were investing. There's a great cell phone infrastructure, telecommunications. But then the Intifada started, and many Palestinians will tell you, as well as these new Palestinian leaders, that that was a disaster, a tragedy. Yassir Arafat permitted that to happen. That was his fatal flaw. That's why George Bush wouldn't deal with him. That's why Ariel Sharon wouldn't deal with him, although some people claim that the Sharon-Arafat bitterness goes back so many decades after Sharon tried to assassinate Arafat. Behind me, of course, you can hear one of the military bands. This service is going to be
just looks like a zoo.
Like one big Puerto Rican Day parade.
I mean, it just looks stupid.
What can I tell you, guys?
Take care of yourself.
One person who's not coming here,
Yeah.
Arafat, was, of course, at the Cairo event, but she is not stepping foot in Ramallah because I was told if she came here, she would not get out alive.
What are they mad at her about?
Well, the one thing is she started off as a Christian and converted.
Right.
She never came back while they were under siege. They were living in 2 rooms. She was living in the Place Van Dome in $1 million plus apartment. And they want to know where the money is. You know, they say that she went off with all the shekels.
Oh,
That's actually that is the currency here. The Israeli currency. So they want to know where are those euros?
Where are the shekels?
You can't make it up.
No, you can't.
Where are the shekels?
Thanks, Andrew. Andrew Mitchell there, that mess.
Guys are climbing over walls. Like Fenway Park after the Red Sox won.
You can't believe what a nightmare this is.
I need better seats, man, than this.
Well, you see, I wasn't kidding around. When the boy left Ramallah a couple of weeks ago, he didn't look fine. He looked okay. Just a little shaky, maybe.
He was alive. he was waving. How you doing?
He was blowing kisses to people. And the next thing you know, he's dead. Belly up, toes up. And Suha, I guess, negotiated some kind of deal, right? Who'd she negotiate it with?
The Palestinian authorities, PLO authorities, to get, according to one of the stories I saw this morning, like $22 million a year.
Forever?
Absolutely, and so that she then would tell them the real story about what happened to the money. And that's the deal she got. You give me $22 million, I'll tell you what about, the rest of the money, which could, it's variously estimated, be in the billions.
Well, she's no different than Anna Nicole Smith or, Larry King's wife or anybody like that.
Well,
there's a payoff for marrying these creeps.
Well,
come on.
Well, you can't compare my friend Larry King to Yassir Arafat.
Oh, yes, I can. And his wife, to Suha, indeed.
Oh, that's horrible. You apologize for that.
No, not at all.
I'm greatly offended.
He's simply saying that there appears to be a monetary component in all of these things,
Yeah.
So that's all. I don't think he really means it. Larry is like Yassir.
Similar
Exactly.
situation, no question about it. It's universal.
Just the concept. I see what he's saying.
Right.
Sure.
Well, if she knows where the money is,
Yeah.
then why does she have to make a deal with them for the $22 million a year?
Good question. Unanswerable.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Unless it's in some sort of a state where she can't put her hands right on it or something. I don't know.
How are they going to be able to put their hands on it?
Okay, you're asking questions that I can't answer, I bet.
And, well, I'm glad to see that the Palestinian youth have taken a cue from the eye man and wised up here. Somebody pulled the plug on Yassir, which was, by the way, the bastard couldn't die soon enough. But they're not buying that. Guy leaves, looks like he's going on tour. And next thing you know, he's deader than Nixon or Elvis.
He's out the compound.
Yeah, you understand?
It's like he's opening for the Stones, and then
Next thing you know, boy's out the house, out the planet. Right?
exactly.
Yeah, and it looks like a mosh pit, too, right there.
Oh, but just, you can't believe this. I mean, it's just insane.
The zoo doesn't even begin to cover.
No, and the potential for some absolute chaos here is just...
Not at all.
So we'll keep a close eye on this throughout the morning.
1430 WCLT. It's Imus in the Morning.
Everyone after the hour, here on the Imus in the Morning program, on the radio all over the country and on MSNBC. And we're keeping an eye on the Arafat funeral, hoping that it turns into, a full-scale Middle Eastern riot. James Carville is going to be on this morning, explaining to me why I lost $20,000. I'm always, whenever you get up this early in the morning, you're tired anyway, so.
Yeah.
But then you get down here and you can't breathe, so then you can't ever get awake,
Just exacerbates the situation.
And I'm in a horrible mood this morning, so it could end at any second. I'm just kind of hoping that we'll get a few yucks out of maybe a bunch of these Palestinian youths, glom on to Arafat's body and try to drag him over there to the Holy Land somewhere.
Jerusalem.
Well, yeah, it could just be really great. Then Terry Bradshaw. We have a guy on is that a horse? Yeah, it's a guy on a horse in the middle of this crowd, and we're back in Ramallah now, and
here comes the SpongeBob SquarePants float.
And they're all awaiting the arrival of Arafat. I thought we had Martin Fletcher in Jerusalem. What's the deal with him?
He is available, and we will be getting him.
Okay. Andrew Mitchell, why would you, I'd just say, well, she's on a rooftop there having made her way through the crowds. I don't know. I guess that's insane. And now there is, I can understand, I mean, you would think the Palestinian people would be pissed off because Arafat stole billions of dollars from them.
And they're all eating dirt.
They're eating dirt, and that fat pig wife is living living in Paris.
They're all brainwashed, though. That's what it is. And they're stupid to begin with, but they're brainwashed.
Yeah.
Stinking animals. You ought to drop the bomb right there. Kill them all right now.
Just imagine standing there.
Well, the problem is we have Andrew there. We don't want anything to happen to her.
Oh, wait, she's got to get out. Just warn Andrea. Get out, and then drop the bomb. Kill everybody.
It's like the worst Woodstock.
Look at this.
And here's the problem. They're all
Woodstock from hell.
They're like, one group is going one way and another's going the other way, and then they have no idea where they're going. It's just, they're like,
on stage 5, here comes Ozzy.
They're like ants, Well, they're not even as organized as ants. These ants have their act together, They
Don't take the brown acid. Do not take the brown acid.
I mean, these. Well, what are they have, no concession stands, nothing.
They need a hose
No
guy.
porta potties.
It's gotta be.
The Warp Tour in Ramallah.
It's Imus in the Morning.
32 minutes after the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program. On the radio all over the country and on MSNBC, we're awaiting the arrival of James Carville. But before that, they're there in Ramallah, awaiting the arrival of Yassir Arafat, who I believe I was the first person to raise these concerns about the chairman who left Ramallah in the helicopter, and the boy looked pretty good to me. He was obviously lucid and somewhat energetic. Long kisses to folks and so on.
Yep.
And he shows up in Paris, and a couple weeks later, the boy dead.
Yep. Don't understand.
Here's Jimmy from Westchester on line 3. Good morning, Jimmy.
Hey, good morning, man. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I guess we're both better than Arafat, although you probably just a little bit more practical.
I can't hear you.
Well, I said we're both doing a little bit better than Arafat, although I'm not so sure about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy, are you in your car?
I pulled over. I'm on the phone on the car, yeah.
Okay. Well, start it back up and get it going about 90 and go right into a bridge above me, would you? And don't call me anymore. Here on line 2 is Rebecca from New York City.
That went well.
Good morning, Rebecca.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay.
How's it going?
Pardon?
Having a nice day?
No, not so far.
What's the problem?
I think that you're showing, for better or for worse, Arafat has, not been good, but he's done some good things. So,
yeah, he's been a sweetheart. Where?
No, come on.
Hey, Rebecca.
A little less ignorance and a little more respect.
Where are you now, Rebecca?
I'm at home.
What, you live in an apartment or?
I live in an apartment.
What floor?
Why?
What floor are you on?
Why? Because of the interference?
No, I'm just curious as to what floor you're on.
Yeah, that's it.
Just kidding.
Well, I'm just asking.
Well, no, that's a legitimate question. What floor are you on?
On this occasion,
Go to the window and jump out of it and let's hope it's... Get off my phone, lady. God, wake up.
I can't believe this.
It's
a moron.
He's done such good
That's like saying
What
Hitler.
good things has he done, Rebecca, you old bag? Get off my phone. Don't call me anymore.
It's like saying Hitler built roads. Way to go. Way to go, Adolf. Jesus.
I mean, here's my advice to you people who don't like my coverage of this. Don't listen to it and don't watch it. God, who cares? Just get out of my face.
Up your ass. There is that point of view out there.
Yeah. Well, then let them watch CNN. They don't have any viewers anyway. Maybe this is one morning they can actually beat us with their multi-million-dollar television program, which they ordinarily can't. All right, let's go to Brian Williams now, who, for some insane reason, is, just because he wants to, standing by in Ramallah. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Don. As we say in New York, we have a situation here. You saw the pictures out of Cairo. Very sedate military funeral, mostly on the grounds of a military base to control the Egyptian crowds. Well, think of the exact opposite. We got a town of 40,000 people, very poor population, a lot of them coming here on foot. And this was an old military base, this compound, as you know. Well, they are kind of storming the compound. From my vantage point, I can see them coming down the hillside. They are on every rooftop that will support them and some that won't. They're in every treetop. They are coming in on what was going to be the LZ, the landing zone for the two helicopters, where the same landing zone where Arafat was last seen taking off. And there's a lot of speculation here that they may rush it, and that the only thing that might keep them back is the rotor wash and the dirt and the rocks that kicks up. But we have watched them cut the fence to make places to sit on top of the concrete.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. The younger elements think this is going to be too westernized and too sedate a burial. And they would very much rather have the casket walked through the streets of Ramallah, if not all the way to Jerusalem, before it comes back here and is put in the ground. So this will bear watching, as they say.
How many people are there in that where you are, Brian?
Oh, man, I'm trying to apply the old NYPD crowd count standards per square 100 yards, and I'm looking every vantage point. They're coming in over the hills. I would say we've got 10,000 now, so a quarter of the daytime population of this town.
So we can expect it to get interesting when the helicopters land?
Yeah, and there is early talk about an alternate LZ, about maybe a feint of landing here, landing them somewhere else, and then motorcading back in here. But I don't see how that would be possible, because every street is jammed with people. We just saw guys in full Arabian dress come down the hillside on horses carrying flags. There's members of Al-Aqsa here with their heads covered. We just heard the first AK-47 fire in the air, and we've learned over the years that those rounds do come down. So if need be, we're prepared to broadcast from inside a stairwell. But it's getting hairy. What's really horrible to watch is a lot of these people, just regular pilgrims on these rooftops, are standing adjacent to and in directly the focus path of our satellite dishes that emit a huge amount of radiation. And they don't know otherwise, and it is just knowing the damage they're taking, it's you can't bear to watch it.
I don't think about that part of it. Well, when are the helicopter? When's he supposed to arrive?
I think about 35, maybe we're within 25 minutes from now. You can hear the whistling going up in the crowd. My Arabic's not good enough to know what they're saying over the fire truck loudspeaker, but it's a frenzied situation. They don't have enough Palestinian security people, even though you see that sea of green.
Why don't we guess what they might be saying, Brian? Let's try. Hey, you guys, shut up.
We're going to. Perhaps one of your callers, Vinny from Queens, has
maybe Andrea Mitchell took a top off.
How did you get to where you are?
We are inside Palestinian Telecom headquarters, and you have to have a pass to get in the front door. And that's one quick story. The dichotomy of this area is unbelievable. Our hotel is next to a refugee camp. This is basically third world living conditions, and yet I can sit here on my BlackBerry and talk real time to anybody I know in the States. Cell phone service we would kill for on the east coast of the United States. There's no dead spots. The high-tech nature of this area is unbelievable because there's been investment, and yet you just look up any side street, and the roaming goats and the children growing up in abject poverty, it's really unbelievable. People are clamoring to get to this rooftop. I just saw a guy try to climb over on electrical wire. It's just short of out of control here in Ramallah.
Is someone trying to get to where you are?
Yeah, from a garage, an adjacent tin roof garage.
Oh, that'd be kind of interesting.
Over special forces style, hand over hand, using an electrical or television wire that was strung between the two buildings.
Well, that'd really be exciting if somebody would leap on you while you were talking to us, and you have to wrestle them to the ground. That'd be great. You know, trust is earned, Brian.
Anything more on Ramallah?
Trust is earned, Brian.
Yeah, for some reason our communications seem to be breaking up.
Brian Williams, NBC News in Ramallah. It's 19 minutes till the hour. Well,
he can end up like Reginald Denny from the LA Riots before this day is out.
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, who puts themselves in those kinds of circumstances? For what reason?
Journalism.
Why do you take the franchise, Brian Williams, and stick him there? That's a job for Chip Reed.
Credibility, integrity.
Well, he's already got credibility and integrity.
It's a big story.
He's
the man. He's fearless.
He did great work during the war, remember? Certainly. Absolutely. Brian Williams was only killed during the war.
Yeah.
Remember that helicopter deal?
Absolutely, sure.
Well, he's made his bones, as far as I'm concerned.
Doesn't have to be there.
And why are we jeopardizing poor little Andrea Mitchell?
With people coming over the parapet.
Who the hell's making these decisions?
Maybe Greenspan is requesting these assignments for her. He's sick of her. I don't know.
This is a job. Here's what you do: you rehire, on a per diem basis, Ashley Banfield for this deal. You put her over there. Let her dye her hair again. And say, you cover this mess.
Here's your burqa?
Here's your burqa? Get out of my face. What a mess.
Wow,
man. What a...
It's like the American Embassy in Saigon, 75.
The satellite dishes.
I mean, that's the way. That's the way that Brian Williams and Andrew will have to get out of there, hanging to the landing gear of a helicopter as it plucks them off a rooftop there. Oh, man, that's insane. Anyway.
Hanging on a rope,
hanging on Brian's leg while he hangs onto the landing.
Oh, my God.
17 till the hour here at the Imus in the morning program.
Good.
SWAT team, we've got him located, all right.
You know, this guy's a murdering animal and enough. Ouch, get out of here. You know, and obviously we hope for some sort of resolution of the Palestinian-Israeli problem. I'm sympathetic in a lot of cases to both sides, but I mean, to try to make something out of this guy is disgraceful.
Well, maybe now there's an opportunity.
But I mean, I still go back to that. I can't remember that woman's name, and I think Samantha B. I think on the Daily Show she says last night that. Well, first of all, I can't be up watching that anyway. It's too late. But so they're now hoping for peace. Now that the Yassir Arafat, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, is dead. Can't make it up. Sports is sponsored by Peerless Boilers, builders of America's best boilers. And here with a brief look at what's going on in sports is someone who is very much like Yassir Arafat.
How about that?
Sid Rosenberg, what's going on?
Morning, nothing.
Okay,
football this weekend, yeah, that's it, great.
Yeah.
I know Scott Hamilton, the ice skater, he's got a brain tumor.
He does?
Yeah. To go along with another terrible disease he has, phagitis.
That's
oh, well, what in the hell?
A low life.
You are such a low life.
You look evil with that silly comb over.
Really, you're no better than Yassir Arafat.
And now you even got the Yassir Arafat beard going.
Yeah, you're a horrid human being.
Wow.
Stench.
Hey, good news about Elizabeth Edwards. Did you hear that, Charles?
Yes, they did.
Her breast cancer has not spread.
Exactly.
Which is wonderful news.
Yes.
So they can treat that.
Any jokes, Sid?
No, you're a horrible. You're a horrible. Really.
We'll bring it out to bring us all. Imus in the morning.
1430 WCLT. It's Imus in the morning.
MSNBC. That's the scene of the situation there in Ramallah, where they're awaiting the arrival of Yassir Arafat's body. They're going to helicopter it in there. Brian Williams and Andy Mitchell are both there. And, they didn't have to talk to me, but the Today Show is not on the air yet, so I imagine they both will be able to provide their serious reports and with great gravity.
Certainly.
Especially in the situation there. And, of course, Matt and Katie and those other phonies will pretend they care about it.
It's an emotional scene, Matt, as I look over the sea of mourners. Yeah, sure.
Anyway, here's Tom Aspel, NBC News from the Gaza Strip. Let's get his assessment of the situation. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Don. Well, we were expecting Gaza to be a lot more lively, but it seems that most people are taking advantage of big screen televisions, which have been set up at several points around Gaza City itself, or just staying home and watching the ceremony from Cairo and then waiting for the burial in Ramallah on their television screens. We have, however, in the last 24 hours, we've seen large groups of mourners more than angry people, large groups of mourners clustering around his Arafat's former headquarters here on the seafront in Gaza City. We've seen also members of his bodyguard, his presidential bodyguard, Force 17, quite well known to everybody in Gaza for their ceremonial duties in the days when Arafat lived here in Gaza. We've seen them openly crying around the headquarters there, a lot of them very emotional. We have seen some masked gunmen in the streets waving Palestinian flags, also professing their loss of Yassir Arafat. But by and large, the Gaza Strip has been quite quiet, and I think many people expecting to get at least a glimpse of the helicopters carrying Yassir Arafat's coffin up to Ramallah there. There was a rumor sweeping the Strip early this morning that the helicopters would make a kind of a symbolic pass over the Gaza Strip so that people would get one last look at their leader's casket, but that hasn't happened. Apparently the flight is going directly to Ramallah without going over the Gaza Strip. So many people waiting to see it on on television or listening to it on the radio, the events in Ramallah. But there's, of course, not only a deep sense of loss here in the Gaza Strip, where 60% of the 1.4 million Palestinians are refugees, and Yassir Arafat's biggest constituency in the days when he ran the PLO, as I say, largely quiet, and people just watching these ceremonies on television or listening on the radio. Don?
Here's an idiotic question, Tom. What does anybody think, or what does somebody think, or anybody, that this means in the grand scheme of some sort of resolution of the Palestinian-Israeli question?
I don't think the people of Gaza really share the optimism that we're hearing emanating from some of the more moderate circles in the West Bank and certainly from the Israelis. I think the people of Gaza feel as though their lot is not going to change, in that they're congregated in this probably the most densely populated area in the world. It's a 30-mile strip with 1.4 million people in it. For the last 2 years, the Israelis have kept them quite tightly penned in here. There's a fence that runs around Gaza, a high-security fence that runs around Gaza on 3 sides, and, of course, the Mediterranean on the 4th side, with Israeli patrol boats constantly off the coast. So as far as the people here are concerned, I don't think anything's really going to change, and this Gaza Strip is run by the more militant groups of the Palestinians, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, and we have seen statements from several of the more radical groups saying that the struggle against Israel will continue regardless of what happens until, as they say, all of Israel has been returned to the Palestinians. We have also seen a particularly militant statement from Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, which is probably the largest armed group in the Gaza Strip, saying that they blame the Israelis for the death of Yassir Arafat, for keeping him penned up in the compound there for nearly 3 years up in Ramallah, and that they will indeed they will kill anybody who goes on to renegotiate the positions which Yassir Arafat rejected during his lifetime. In other words, making peace with the Israelis and compromising on important questions such as return of refugees to their homes and the future of Jerusalem itself.
So now, from ABM.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining WCLT. It's Imus in the morning.
Oh, his body. Flying a boy in on a helicopter. They flew him out a couple of weeks ago, and he looked fine to me. I mean, I wasn't trying to be... I'm glad the bastard's dead, but I wasn't trying to be amusing. I just seemed curious to me. He looked fine, but and obviously he wasn't feeling all that well, but a couple of weeks later, they're unplugging him, so, yeah. Anyway, let's go to Andrea Mitchell, Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent for NBC News, who's right in the middle of this mess, covering all this. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Don. It is quite an extraordinary scene.
What's going on now?
Well, you've got all of these people. They're a little calmer. It was quite frenzied before because they were all trying to get in through the gates behind me. And finally, they climbed the gates. They went over a garbage heap and climbed down into the courtyard there that had been cleared out. You know, up until a couple of days ago, this entire courtyard was filled with old cars and tires. This was basically their defenses against the encroaching Israeli military. He had been holed up here under siege. But they've cleaned that all out over the last couple of days. And then all night, they were out here with backhoes and all sorts of gear, bulldozers, creating this gravesite. They hope it will be temporary. They still hope to bury him in Jerusalem. The big fear of the Israelis, of course, today is that all of these people would amass here, that they would then storm the ceremony, grab the coffin, and march toward Jerusalem. And the Israeli army is, of course, on full alert, the highest alert possible today. But that would be a confrontation that no one wants to see. So everyone is hoping that it stays calm. Obviously, those of us right here also hoping that it remains calm. But it seems like this helicopter is going to arrive, and now that they're inside, I think that they at least feel that they are participating. There are people on, not only on rooftops, but we've got, I don't know if you can see this here.
You can, yeah.
We've got a guy on a lamppost there, and I think Brian was telling you earlier, we've been really concerned about keeping a lot of these young men away from our satellite here, which is, terribly dangerous. Now, obviously, people are beginning to see or hear the sights of a helicopter. We can't see it from where we are, but I think we're about to get the arrival of Yassir Arafat, and they're preparing for the landing of this helicopter. The helicopter will land right behind me within that courtyard area, and there is not a whole lot of security guys there to try to hold back the crowd. Presumably, though, they will manage. So, quite a scene. Yassir Arafat, for whatever... Yeah, go ahead, John.
Can you see the helicopter yet?
I cannot.
No.
I cannot. For whatever we say about Arafat's role as a terrorist, both before and after his negotiations with the Israelis during that brief period, he is an icon to these people. These are people who have been homeless, stateless, and he is the embodiment of their dreams and aspirations. And you can see the conditions in which they live in these refugee camps and even in the poorer areas of this city of 120,000 people when you go in the back streets and alleys. So you can understand the emotion. He now represents much more than himself. To them, he is not a corrupt leader, a man who had no vision, a man who said he would negotiate in good faith with Bill Clinton and then, walked away from Camp David from what many people believe was the best deal he could have possibly gotten. John?
All right, well, we'll come back to you. We'll continue to monitor this, and as soon as we spot the helicopter, we'll come back to you. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News there in Ramallah, and it looks like the NBC cameras there picked up a helicopter. It could get sort of interesting when the helicopter lands, couldn't it?
Unpredictable, my man.
Isn't that a confrontation we would want to see? They grab Stinky Pete's body and they try to march over to Jerusalem. That's exactly what we want to see.
Yes, it is what we want to see.
We're pulling.
That's what the network execs want to see, too. Come on.
Yeah.
We want Andrea to be okay, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian.
Yeah.
But other than that, on to Jerusalem.
See a major clash.
Yeah.
The body falls out of the coffin, and they're picking it up and stuffing it in, and the machine guns are going off.
The Imus Business Report, let's get that completed here. Sponsored by the New York Stock Exchange.
Doing a weekend at Yassir's deal with it. On the ground. And
today at the exchange, the opening bell will be run by Barclays Global Investors Intermediary Business CEO Lee Kranfus, whatever the hell his name is, joined by I can't pronounce any of this stuff. I didn't realize of any of these people. Some outfit in China. And Mark, I don't know who these people are. They got to give me a better deal here. I'd like to.
Phonetically, I wrote it out for you on the bottom. Xinhua. Right, and the other one is Yehudnik or whatever.
Xinhua Index Chairman Mark Makepeace to celebrate the October 8th listing of the iShares FTSE Xinhua China 25 Index Exchange Traded Fund. The ETF will trade under the ticker symbol FXI. Now we see a helicopter now. So we'll get this. Let's stay with this because the cameras are whipping around here. And
breaking news on the Imus in the Morning program.
I'll just be quiet. The closing bell will be rung by Ormat Technology CEO Yehuda Dita. Somebody celebrates the company's November 11th listing on the exchange. Well, the crowd clearly can see the helicopter now. It's just one helicopter? Is that the coffin hanging outside the helicopter? It can't possibly be. No, it's stupid. What is that, Charles?
I don't know.
Company trades under the ticker symbol ORA. Yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 84 points. Now up to 10,470, moving on up. The NASDAQ up 27 points, so still over 2,000 at 2,061. The New York Stock Exchange Composite closed up 60 points at 69.51. Well, what's this? All right, Andrea. Is it just one helicopter coming in, Andrea?
No, actually, we see there are 4 approaching, and some may be Israeli Defense Force. We had expected 3 helicopters, but there is an extra helicopter which may be military. What they've been shouting, by the way, is Father, Father, we will sacrifice everything for you, Father. The Palestinian leaders, the new Palestinian leaders, have marched through the crowd, and that's when you started hearing the whistling and the cheering a bit ago. And the helicopters are now approaching. They're circling. The new leaders, of course, have been selected hastily. They're well known to Americans. They're moderates who have been working with American officials and Israeli officials actually for years. Mahmoud Abbas and Ahmed Touria. But there is no guarantee at all that they can either survive politically or physically, given the threats against them and the fact that there is a growing sentiment, as Tom Askel, I think, told you earlier, especially in the Gaza Strip and among the more radical elements, to take matters to the street and not to give up anything that Arafat already rejected. By the way, the Al-Aqsa Brigades, the most radical group of Hamas, renamed themselves officially the Yassir Arafat Brigades in his memory.
How many of these helicopters are scheduled to land in that area that we see on our screens here? That appears to be, well, it is right in the middle of all these folks.
They prepared 3 landing spots, but I think only 1 or 2 would land, because I cannot imagine that they would be able to, because they can land successfully.
Well, they appear to be awfully close to landing, are they, Andrea?
They circled and are probably circling back. So I think that there may be a few more minutes before they actually come. If you want to.
Looks like the folks are getting jacked up here.
Well,
this is great.
What's happening is that some of those other leaders are marching through the crowd to take their positions near the tomb.
Sure.
The tomb itself was built under those trees. If you can see the trees in the distance, the only trees. And that's where the tomb actually will be located, and that is where he will be put into the ground. He is going to be buried also symbolically with some dirt from Jerusalem to represent what they, of course, believe is their symbolic capital and the place, a holy place where they wanted to be buried, a holy site claimed, of course, by Jews and Arabs alike. The helicopter is now coming in. I think there's probably 2 helicopters now coming in for a landing zone. I think you probably have a good shot of that. And the crowd is being held back by the Palestinian military officials. One of the big issues here in this Arafat was that they felt he never created a military that was effective. This is one of the dustiest places you'd ever want to be. And the dust that is being picked up by these choppers.
I don't know which helicopter has the body in it, do we? The helicopter now landing. I'm just sitting down right about now. Oh, this is great now.
Yeah, we're getting quite a bit of a dust storm here. I'm not sure which helicopter. I would presume the first chopper, but I can't really tell. And now you're going to see a surging of the crowd as the
crowd's now rushing the helicopter. This is great. Is that gunfire, Andrea?
That is. It's the crowd has. It is traditional to shoot into the air with AK-47s, but of course these bullets can come down. So we are getting down behind. We're getting down behind the satellite dish now. Pulling our people down, but I hope you can still see these pictures.
Well, both helicopters have landed in the square, and it looked to be, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 appear to be military personnel that are at this point able to keep the crowd at bay, but I don't think it's funny.
They seem vastly outnumbered to me.
It doesn't look great. The crowd now surging around the helicopter.
They just ran right past the people who had taken up positions around there.
Yeah,
John, they're firing. John?
Yeah.
If you can still hear me, this is Mitchell. They're firing rounds in the air, and this is not, this is mostly in celebration. It's to honor him. He's a military hero to them.
Yeah.
This is traditionally done, so this is not an outbreak of violence.
Yeah, I understand that. Those bullets come down somewhere, don't they, Charles?
They certainly do,
this
man.
occurred to me.
Well, now both helicopters are completely engulfed by what look like thousands of people.
Just humanity.
Who will take control of the body and how they'll get it out of the helicopter?
I mean, this is exactly what the Israelis feared, is that they would have a crowd like this surging around the helicopter and conceivably take the casket and start marching and go right past the barriers. This is the nightmare, or potentially the nightmare, because I don't see how they're going to control this crowd and have any kind of a ceremony. And now you know why none of the dignitaries were coming to this part of the burial.
There appear to be two or three look like officials that were aboard the helicopter there. And who have come out of the door of the helicopter on some ramp there and are attempting to get somebody's attention.
They're kind of standing in the doorway and trying to figure out what to do with the doorway of the helicopter.
But,
I mean, they obviously can't go anywhere.
Plus now, of course, they couldn't take off again if they wanted to. Well, I guess they could, but they didn't want to.
I can't see these second half.
Unless some of that gunfire that was being fired up in the vicinity of the helicopter nicked a rotor blade or two. I mean, that's possible. Crazy.
And now they're trying to get a ramp down. They're trying to get, they're trying to get the stairway down like almost like a net jet deal.
Exactly. Unfold the stairway and
there's somebody there looks a lot like Michael Eisner. Not him, but that's all this gunfire you're hearing. It's being fired in celebration, as Andrea points out.
Yeah, it may sound like a pitched battle, but it's not.
They're not shooting at anybody yet. Are you okay, Andrea?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm trying to figure out how they're ever going to get control of this crowd. I mean, they did not have enough security people here. Even when we first arrived, those armed, uniformed men were helping this crowd get onto the fence and then get over the hill and climb into the yard. So it's hard to imagine that you also don't want to have all of this helicopter, you don't want to have a fully fueled helicopter on the ground with all of this gunfire going off. I mean, it's really...
Maybe you and Brian could go down there and reason with the crowd, Andrea.
Yeah. I walked through a lot of this crowd to get here today, Don, and I think that's... I don't know if you want to come and help out. But don't leave that to other people.
What is happening now? Well, all we can see are just thousands of people pressed up against the helicopter.
Well, I don't see how they can have this burial ceremony unless they get control of the crowd. I can't see the doorway to the chopper.
It looks like they tried.
As I might.
Well, now they're trying to get the stairs down the helicopter, but they can't. And there are 3 or 4 people who are leaning out of the helicopter, but they appear about as concerned as you are. I mean, they're looking around, and it's not clear that they can do it. They can't even get the ramp down from the helicopter. So there's just too many people pressed. Now the security people are around the helicopter trying to push people back, but that's not working.
They literally can't even extend the stairway.
It is. I mean, if they're going to have to get control of this crowd before they can have any kind of burial ceremony for Yassir Arafat.
And now they've closed the doorway again. I closed the door to the helicopter.
Yep.
Because they couldn't extend the Charles said they couldn't extend the stairway, so
pull the ramp back in.
Pull the ramp back in, and I know what they're going to do.
Anybody say victim
I think
insured?
they're going to be in a standoff for a while. I mean, I think this is clearly a standoff between the crowd and the officials who obviously did not plan for the kind of emotion that they are experiencing here and did not plan for this kind of crowd, because when we first came, we came here yesterday, but we've not seen the kind of security that they need to have in this situation. I see the crowd beginning to move back a little bit because clearly they've told their people that they cannot bury their leader properly.
Oh, yeah, now there does appear to be I'm sorry, Andrew. There appears to be an area now that they're going to be able to get him out of there. Well, we've got to do some commercials here on the radio, so MSNBC must stick with us, but we're not going.
Imus in the morning.
Whether you're a regional...
It's 29 minutes exactly after the hour here on the Imus in the morning program on the radio all over the country and on MSNBC. And if y'all are watching MSNBC, the picture... Well, you know what the picture is. It's Ramallah. It's on the West Bank. The helicopters have landed. Looks to be 10 to 20,000 people there, all crowded around the helicopter. It appears they've been able to get them back from the helicopter so they can unload Stinky there and get him over and bury this son of a bitch. But no. I mean, don't call me up and complain about it. I'm not showing any reverence for this creep because it's a butcher. Yeah. So, watch CNN if you want to see somebody who's not. Now there's a guy. It looks like one of those jalopy derbies. There's a guy in a station wagon.
It's got an SUV.
Oh, yeah,
some sort.
It's a Jeep. Is it a Jeep?
Yeah.
God bless him.
Well, all right now.
Well, that's another reason why. Of course, Jeep being a big sponsor here of the Iron Running program. Well, anyway, they're going to...
Jeep Wrangler, sure.
Got to unload this deal.
Yeah.
Put those Stinky Pete in a Jeep Wrangler.
They got the
into the hole.
Tailgate up and backing it right up to the helicopter as best they can.
Here's James Carville. I don't know how much we'll be able to talk to James. Hi, James. How are you?
That helicopter going to beat OJ's Bronco here. Big visual.
Oh, what a mess, huh?
I'm telling you. Yeah. Who knows what they're going to do next?
It's at the hour here in the Imus in the morning program on the radio around the country and on MSNBC. On MSNBC now, you're looking at the scene in Ramallah. As Yassir Arafat's body arrived there via helicopter about, I don't know, in the last half hour or so. And they got him out of the helicopter. And then I thought they had him in the Jeep, right?
Yes, they did, I think, briefly at least.
But now they have the coffin and they're moving that through the, I don't know what the hell they're doing. But
through a continuing throng of people, we know that for sure.
It hasn't turned into the kind of chaotic scene that we wanted.
Right.
But
although at moments there was hope.
There's still these nitwits firing guns in the air.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Brian Williams now and see the latest. Let's see what he's reporting. Hi, Brian.
Don, hello. And the only thing that's going to disperse this crowd now, as Andrea Mitchell has been pointing out, is the clock and the sun. A, he has to be buried by sundown, and B, all of these people have to be home to break the Ramadan fast. It's the last night of Ramadan, the holy month, and the sun is getting fairly low in the sky. What's unbelievable, as you look at these pictures of the crush of people around the coffin, is that I have in my hand the schedule for the funeral service, what time the speakers were supposed to speak. There was even a moment of silence, if you can believe that. We have an AK-47 very close to our camera position that continues to get fired into the sky. A very large weapon set on automatic went off from the top of the compound. Again, no need for alarm. This is typical for this kind of thing in the Middle East, and none of these shots are fired in anger or to suppress or disperse the crowd. They're fired straight up in the air. But I can't help but think this crowd is more sparse than it was a few minutes ago. There are a lot of people have been injured in the crowd. They're passed right over the top of people, over to the walls and to EMS. You can hear ambulances, sirens wailing in the distance. A point I made earlier, the westernized members of Arafat's cabinet, his advisors, will know how these pictures play around the world. This is a people who are mourning the loss of their only leader they've ever known, who want very badly to be an independent and separate state. And yet this is how they are choosing to end one era and begin another. It's just the crush of people. The pictures, as we so often say, can't do it justice, nor does the audio quite tell the story of just how vivid this gunfire is. All you can smell in the air is cordite gunpowder.
Where is the coffin now, Brian?
I'd love to tell you that. It is in that crush of people. There's a very heavy volley of two side-by-side automatic weapons. Our camera people are zooming in on their last best guess as to where that coffin is. They did such beautiful work overnight. Very, very highly polished stone around the edge of the crypt. Now, everything but the actual hole that coffin will go in has people on top of it. And this is obviously there's that heavy caliber weapon on top of the building. This is obviously some paroxysm of a mixture of grief and political feelings that had to come out. It was energy that had to be released, and they are releasing it.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Brian Williams, they're in Ramallah, right in the middle of all that, covering the trek of the Yassir Arafat's body in this coffin. And I'm looking at this massive humanity there, and you can't see where the coffin is, but yeah. It looked as though they were, well, it's just hard to say.
They say it's actually obscured by the crush of people.
But we don't know if they're going to be able to get it
to the hole or
where it has to go. They're 7 hours ahead of us, so it's about 10 minutes after 3 in the afternoon. I don't know what time the sun goes down, but Brian said they were just a couple hours from that, so... Mm-hmm. Well, these people, they don't have any money. Where do they get that money for the ammo?
There's a good question. I have no idea.
They'll have to buy shells every once in a while, and they're expensive.
Aren't they? Yeah. The weapons themselves are expensive, and the ammunition's expensive.
What happens to these bullets when you fire them up in the air, Charles?
You know, they come down, I-Ben. And I guess you just hope to heck they don't, I'm wondering if Brian needs a helmet.
Well, there must be instances of people being injured by falling bullets, aren't there?
You would think. I mean, there has to be.
But isn't there one of these things? These are the kinds of questions I would call you at night. Wyatt would ask me, or I would ask myself, or then we'd call you, or Deirdre would, and we'd say, Charles, what happens when you fire a bullet in the air? And then you would give us the answer. What is the answer?
The bullet responds to gravity. The bullet will go up into its trajectory and then come back down.
At the rate of what?
I don't know if gravity. I don't know if it loses its velocity. Certainly, if it's fired, more at a not an acute angle to the level of the Earth, then it's not going to lose velocity. But if you fire it straight up.
If I were to do it here in the studio, I'd just shoot a hole in the ceiling.
Yes.
You put a hole in Big Bird.
Hey.
Yeah.
You'll have the Sesame Street characters upstairs.
The Sesame Street's right above us here, right?
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to do that.
So, no, you wouldn't want to enter an Oscar.
But you want to go outside and I'll fire a couple of shots in the air and see what happens?
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. You can fire them at different angles and see what kind of velocity is lost and what impact they have, how far they carry.
Yeah, but I'm not supposed to do that, so I can't do that.
No.
But you would common sense seems to suggest that a bullet fired into the air is going to come down, and if somebody's unfortunate enough to be in the way, they're going to get hurt.
That's what I'll do with the kids at the ranch. That'll be an activity next year.
That's a learning activity, too.
Or, we're having kids this spring. What's the spring session?
Studies of ballistic trajectories.
Yeah,
certainly.
We'll go out and fire some shots in the air and see what they come down on.
Look at the physics of the whole thing. Absolutely. Good lesson.
12 minutes after the hour, here on the Imus Morning program. I'm not, Bo, here's Bo on the phone. Bo, what happened?
Here's an expert.
No, what happens is them bullets go up there. People get injured all the time with them bullets coming back down. That's reality. People die from that. When them bullets come down, they get the speed coming down from that height, and people can get killed from the bullets coming down. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, people think that they just disappear in the air. No, they come down, and if they come down on somebody's head, that projectile could kill you very, 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 very easily. So, and enough of bullets, they keep shooting up there. There's going to be people that are going to get injured, if not killed, for that stupidity.
Where are you this morning?
Where am I this morning? Yeah. I'm watching you, brother. What else am I doing in the morning?
I mean, where are you?
I'm in New York City.
Oh.
What do you think, I was in Ramallah?
No, I just wondered.
No, brother, I'm in New York City, and I'm preparing myself for a day of work. All right, brother, bye.
13 after the hour here in the Imus Morning program.
You know, this scene is not a heck of a lot different than downtown Detroit after the Pistons won the NBA championship last year.
Sid Rosenberg is in the studio, and his idiotic comments and sports report is sponsored by Peerless Boilers. If you're going to get a boiler, y'all need to get a Peerless boiler. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk with, watching on MSNBC here, what appears to be fairly peaceful. I mean, there are 10 or 20,000 and perhaps more people there, but it hasn't turned into, an absolute chaotic mess as we were hoping it would. So
not totally out of some sort of control, self-imposed.
We were hoping they would dump Stinky out of the coffin.
Yeah.
And, but that's not what happened.
No.
MSNBC's coverage will continue on television, of course, and we actually have commercials on the Imus Morning program around the country and here in New York, so we're going to do some of those because you need to know what to buy, baby, and where to get it. And we'll continue with all of this, and we'll talk with Terry Bradshaw. We'll go 10 yards with Terry. Assuming he wants to play along with that. You never know what kind of mood he's in.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll hope that Terry will be amenable to doing this. 17, almost 18 after the hour.
All right, people, we need new computers.
The crowd is dispersed quite a bit, Chuck.
It does seem to have loosened up, at least. It's not as tightly packed as it appeared to be here a little while ago.
Dropping bars of soap from a helicopter.
And Yassir Arafat's body in a coffin there somewhere, and they have to bury the boy by sundown for some reason. Oh, because of their religion.
Yeah.
What happens if they don't make it? I mean, then what?
There's a good question. I guess realistically nothing happens, but as far as the spiritual event is concerned,
like you guys, you have your deal where you have to do something by sundown too, right?
Well, yeah, the Sabbath starts by sundown. Yeah, they have to do it. There's no way they won't do it.
Well, what happens if you guys don't make it?
Well, there's no such thing. I mean, you just
make. Of course, there's such a thing.
Never.
Well, what if circumstances intervene that prevent you from being able to do it?
I guess you're asking the wrong guy. I mean, it's not like I'm an Orthodox Jew. You know what I'm saying? But I guess if you had a heart attack on the way to temple, then. You could make it on time, that's one thing, but I can't imagine...
Well, what if you stopped for a couple of drinks and one thing led to another and then you didn't make it?
Well, that happened to me a couple of times.
Yeah.
You meet a chick and the next thing...
And they got to eat tonight, finally, these people. These people have been fasting for quite some time during this...
That explains why there are no porta potties out there.
Ridiculous holiday they have there with these animals. Just a bunch of animals.
That'll be fine.
And then you take calls from the Upper West Side from people who are like, show some more respect. You want respect? Look at this.
That'll be fine, Sid. We just don't need you to weigh in on any of this. What else going on, Charles?
Well, of course, the President and the British Prime Minister, with all of this as a backdrop now, are meeting today at the White House. The Middle East likely to be the principal topic of discussion. The death of Arafat could change the dynamics, of course, of that entire region. Mr. Blair is expected to push the president to make a renewed commitment to the Middle East peace process. And Blair has lately been pushing the need for renewed peace efforts as well.
Let's go back to Brian Williams, who's anchoring this thing from Ramallah. What's going on now, Brian?
First of all, Don, two things to answer your question on the segment before. 120 miles an hour is the maximum speed a bullet reaches on its way down to the ground. Same speed a penny or a projectile off the Empire State Building reaches. We were having this conversation right here yesterday, mostly out of self-preservation, but luckily we have a vinyl tent above us, so I'm sure we'll be fine. And also, the wounds from a round coming to the earth are normally grievous because these bullets tend to tumble on their way down, and you can get a horrible jagged wound. It can kill you no matter which angle it hits you. Now, to the subject at hand, as you can see from the printing on the screen, we've been running the bulletin. Associated Press says he's buried. They evidently have a print reporter down there in the scrum of people on the ground, and they say a cleric read prayers, and they lowered him into the ground. And you can maybe see from our camera angle here how low the sun is getting, but he's got to be buried by sunset, as you point out, and all these people have to be home to break the daily fast. This is the last night of Ramadan, it was strange timing, but it is one of the holiest days of the year to be buried in the Muslim calendar. We can see streams of people leaving. A lot of them are emptying their clips on their way out, and I should also point out some of those guns you hear are police and not just members of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. A lot of them are just firing off whatever they have left, and a lot of them are streaming back to their houses up the hillsides, and light is starting to fade a little bit.
Well, maybe now you can go over to Fallujah after this is over, Brian, if you just insist on putting yourself in the middle of all these horrific situations. But fine job from you this morning, obviously. Brian Williams, NBC News in Ramallah. Covering the burial of Yassir Arafat, and apparently Stinky's in the ground.
Apparently he is.
Yeah, they've covered him up, and that's the way it is.
So the lid is closed on an Arab.
Now, this is a really idiotic question. The Palestinians, in terms of this homeland they want, if we were to say give them, I don't know, Vermont, which I'd be for, by the way.
Yeah.
They don't want that, right? Or
no, they want that. They want where they are.
Right.
Right.
So they want to, and they want to be in Jerusalem, and
they want everything, man. They want the entire. What Arafat stood for was Palestine for Palestinians.
Well, isn't there there's a lot of room around there, and these neighboring countries, Syria and some of these, Lebanon, those places, why couldn't they just fence off that area over there? Not fence it off, you know what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. That's not what they seek. No.
Right. So
they could have had more, but the Israelis pounded them. That's what happened. That's the way it is. They lost the war. Stop crying about it.
I don't know that we wanted you to weigh in on this. Well, why don't you just report on the various sporting activities and your stupid football picks and things like that? So
who beat whom?
Yeah, and leave it at that.
You really can't do that today. This is such a momentous occasion here, such a huge event.
What's kind of interesting is you look a lot like Yassir Arafat. So a beady-eyed, rodent-looking weasel.
You'll be at some hole at 10 o'clock.
Shut up. I'm surprised you're not in Ramallah today, Bernie. By the burial of your good friend. You're so distraught over his death.
Coming up on 29 after the hour. We're continuing to monitor the situation here in Ramallah. It doesn't look like... Well, it's kind of like the end of a outdoor concert featuring, I don't know, anybody.
The Meadowlands are emptying out.
Fish. Right.
Bob Dylan. Yeah. Another stinky bastard.
Deadhead. Lighten up on Bob, okay, Chrome Dome?
Why?
Because I like him, that's why.
He's a skunk.
You're a skunk. Why don't you go get your fire for another Celine Dion album, you moron. 29 minutes out of the hour.